All right. Yeah, we're taking that daily open, aren't we?
Previously value area high normally gives a few bounces before it weakens and we get into the val.
Yeah. What's going on, Twin? Twin's in the house. Yeah, why are you yelling at me?
So Twin boom.
I'll have to go over the deep crab with these guys.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. The first time you showed me that deep crab, and I know that wasn't necessarily. Oh, when was that? Jeez, that had to be when we were still chilling at it was 39K. You know, around when we took those shorts. Yeah, I don't know why. I've always taken a liking to that idea. Makes the most sense whether it comes through or not for the lower target. But
no, there's another deep crab I was talking about.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's heading on finding a harmonic, and somebody's putting up a butter. I'm like, dude, the B leg is like totally out of. You definitely don't have a butterfly there. But the timing, yeah. And in general, I actually saw that by another trader that I know as well. But T-Bone put it up just now, and so off. But the timing of the deep crab I posted, even though it looks really fucked up because it's a really short C leg, the timing of the E leg is just absolutely perfect. And I've mentioned this before that I like deep crabs and other like really overly extended harmonics to go to at least the like 2 or 2618, and it comes in right at the 2618 for the low, which is really nice. So it is one of those things where it is nice, you know. We'll talk about that a little bit more in group, especially with some of the other things that we do with harmonics. But yeah, just let me know whenever we're live, because otherwise I just have my screen up.
No, we're live and we're good to go.
Oh, we're live right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me move this over to my other screen so I can at least monitor it.
Yeah, I thought you knew that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on, man. You guys don't tell me anything.
I said we're going live on both of our channels right now. So, and then Twin is in the chat. So
there's there they are. Yeah, there's everybody. Awesome.
2 sips.
Well, we got 10 people in here. Yeah. Well, you know me, just a little guy. So, in terms of how would I be talking? They're talking there. All right. So, for anyone, you know, tune in regularly, I guess, in the sense that you're not in the group, because we go a couple times a week and every day. This is something that we use to actually spot the incoming low along with some Fibonacci time, looking for the lows to expand eventually up to this next EQ, which you can see is pretty well respected here from our 25K lows. Puts us right up here near this target, right around 28 to 29,000. We'll just call it that. It really is a zone at this point. But this would be the one-to-one in time that we're looking for. So this week we would expect this to start maybe expanding up into this region, you know, over the next few weeks, come up to that. However, I would postulate that I think we do need to get going fairly quickly in the sense that if this does not actually move, I do think that we are in for a bit of a pullback, meaning coming back into the range for me. So line in the 24,000, what did I do? 470 earlier. Let me pull that up. This was, yeah. So this is your range from market structure, not from time. So you can see that you've got your TPO and your volume areas that are pretty close to each other at this point. They're no longer separated by too much. But the most important level here is going to be 24,470, because this, according to here, is where that single print really is going to end, meaning that this is the resistance that we're looking for. So if we can get through this region of the chart, we have a fairly, I would say, quick move up, in my opinion, to 25.2, but also 26.505, which is kind of like the golden pocket zone. And then from there, you know, there's not, this whole move up just doesn't have a lot of resistance if you look back up to these levels. But if you were to start plotting these numbers out and putting like 26.5 on your chart, and 25.2, for instance, right here, you can see this 26.5, you know, so there's not really anything there. I would be looking up to this next resistance, which comes in here. Also going to come into the prior range. Start, dialing that in a little bit more carefully, I suppose. Which you can see the POC there, things like that. So we also have other horizontal resistances coming in that region, which makes me really like the area because you really want to couple this with a couple different things. So there's quite a bit here. You can see that I've got them listed here for myself, just to remember what makes those boxes important. So yeah, 24,470 really does start to initiate that squeeze up. For anyone that's wondering, like, when is Bitcoin going to, really make a move? For the downside, though, we talked about the group for everyone that's watching there. We do have what's called a Dalton in play. Previous day value area high here, close out of it, looking to see if we can find acceptance. Bouncing from that here, which was called out in group that we had bull div, essentially showing that you have increased selling into support while holding structural higher lows, which is what's causing these bounces off of the area, which is pretty common anytime you have a Dalton. Day value area high, as Max pointed out earlier before we went live, is going to be pretty good support for. It's support until it isn't. It's going to bounce though. People are going to come here. They're going to open shorts, get caught. It's going to squeeze some of those guys out, et cetera, until either it breaks or squeezes higher, right? So we know what number we need to see taken out to the high side now to move up. And we're actually sitting at a pretty important level. If we were to just look at the daily chart, you can see that this was a level that we were on about in group for some trades. We were looking for 23,000 and some change, basically saying that this was an SFP for all intents and purposes right here. And that we should be monitoring this level, because if we start closing above it and regarding it as support, that could initiate that move into that 24,470 move and then up. However, you start losing this, you find your way back into the previous day range, which is this today. It's a very big range. You can see it comes all the way down to that 22.5 area near your weekly open and day support that was tested this morning. If that does happen, you get back in here and you make that cycle. This would make me, I wouldn't say bearish, but it would make me think we're going to run it back to the weekly open, or the old weekly open, I should say, right around 20,779. And that the POC does come in above that now. You may have to front run that target just a little bit. You may have to actually front run 21, 1 or 21.2, which would be okay. It's still a sizable drop. So you really want to see price get going here now in the short term and making its move to these next levels. Otherwise, I think that you do have the potential for a pullback down here, which is fine. In the scheme of things, it's not a big deal. It's just one of those things where people, probably this region, and I wouldn't say most people, but a lot of people will buy in this region. They'll jump on the ship a little bit too late. So if this doesn't get going, they're not going to be rewarded. They're probably going to be pushed out of those positions in favor of buying at a better price, and another person can fill their bag down here. Generally, it's what's called smart money, but those are just terms. So that is really all I've got. It's a pretty simple breakdown this week, in my opinion. I'll keep it kind of simple and let you guys do the nitty gritty work if you want to. That is all I've got on Bitcoin. It's a very easy chart. Hold this level, push above 24.4. Probably got a decent move up. I would aim towards that 28 to 29K region, actually. Hicks in between 25.2, 26.5, but ultimately this is your target. Easy peasy.
Nice. Did you cover that deep crab, or did I miss that?
I did not cover the deep crab, but we can.
You want to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
We already did it on debate anyway. So
yeah, we might as well. We got a lot of members. We got a lot of members in here, so we might as well talk about it. I can get my mouse to work here. There we go. So deep crab, yeah, there's a lot of people talking about the potential of a butterfly in this region, but in reality, you've got a nice deep crab. It's right here. Okay, so you can see I've already marked off the X and the B leg, so it's showing you where the range truly broke down. And you can see this is pretty accurate. You can see this was support, and then struggling here to really hold it. So you got a lot of indecision in this region of the chart. Come up, back test POC overall yearly average, and then down you go, right? Well, you've got a really nice deep crab here. If you were to look at it from a timing perspective, I enjoy these because in reality, they do run really, really clean when it comes to an extension on the C to D, because this is an overextension, right? So that's all this is you're looking at a really, really large expansion for price. So you really want to see these hit some of those crazy fib extensions. And if you were measuring this out in terms of, well, if I can get my, there we go. It's out in terms of looking at it and saying, how far out did it go? I've always mentioned that I really like at least a 2-spot extension to a 2618, maybe even as far as a 3. And you can 618 is pretty much catching your low here. So for me, this is a very good, valid pattern. You could then turn around and turn it into a pitchfork. You can see exactly where we're at right here, butting up against resistance. Several ways to actually to draw this one if you wanted to. This one would be, oh, we're in log scale. Let's get out of that. This one would probably be my preference. That's just something that we do in the group with that one. But this one is also pretty good. Supported here by the percent line or the EQ of this lower channel, and that we're now trying to break back into that. And if we're able to, we're running up into a down sloping resistance, which over time could put us at that $29,000, $28,000 level. But price does need to start initiating rather than later. So that's how I would look at things. But yeah, this would be your deep crab, because you can see that it's at least an 886. Whereas like a butterfly, I think the butterfly was well over the limits, because you're looking for a 786 on that. I think it was actually closer to an 886 or even more. So it kind of disqualifies it for me. Then you need at least a 382 for C. This barely meets the requirement, but it does. And then you're looking for at least a 16182. Anywhere from a, I think it's a 2618 to 3618 expansion. So you did meet those requirements. The timing was good on it. You've got a really well-respected fork in terms of time and price. And so I would be looking for this to try to come up here in median line over time. It's just a matter of, you know, you're in a bearish market, right? And one thing that you'll notice about bear markets is that generally, just like in bull markets, so in bull markets, bear perform. In bear markets, bullish patterns will underperform. So technically, the target of this is going to be 39,500, right? I'm not willing to just openly admit that we're going to go that far or like put any real stock in it. I just know that if certain conditions are met, I at least have my targets lined out. I know why they actually line up really nicely with other TA we've already done based on volume. So we know why this area of the chart's already important. And now structurally, it makes sense as well. So if criteria is met, we can look for that move. Again, environment matters. You're in a bear market. Macro matters. And bullish patterns do tend to underperform. So did work out the timing on this as well for distribution. So let's say that this was a reversal pattern, right? Looking at this to play out, just like we were looking at the butterfly at the highs to play out over time. So this would play out all the way into March of 2023, meaning that you would have an upward trajectory showing that this is the low. Could even go sideways for quite an extended period of time before doing so. A really perfect example of this is going to be right here. Okay, so I'll actually do the scratch with you guys. This was our topping pattern. You've probably seen it follow the channel. And it was something like this. This is an actual butterfly. You can see you have your 786 right here, looking for a 1-spot 272 and at least a 2.0 in terms of extension. Okay, and then you're looking just to run the time. You're just saying, okay, how long did it take me to distribute this distribution? And you can the low here at 25K, but pretty close to the 1-to-1 here. So what you're looking at is you're saying, I'm looking for downside at least until May. And from there, I have to use my best judgment. And am I buying this? One, we were looking at this as buys, but we were also looking at this as sells up to 32.9K, as that's just a back test of the old structural range from here in terms of standard deviations of volume, which it hit to the T, down it goes, right? So you had a lot of things, a good short still, and it comes down and it hits other targets, which, you know, if you were looking at things from a macro perspective, and we just had it up, looking at the BCD, right? Looking at this on the weekly log, Okay, so now we're looking at an even larger time frame, and we're saying, okay, we had a really high time frame pattern coming into high time frame levels here. Perfect bounce from this fork. Rejection. What are we looking for? Bottom of our macro trajectory, which has now hit, and now we're reversing. So we're now looking for the next macro area, which comes up here and does begin to incorporate some of those targets we talked about on something like this. Whoa. Get rid of some of this stuff right here. And it does begin to, you know, bring in the idea that, okay, well, if we are getting that macro reversal here, potentially, not ready to call this an overall cycle low just because we don't have information, but we do know how to play this going forward. We know where our pivot points in the market lie, which is the most important thing. You know, when you're looking at the macro, everything else we do is obviously day trade, and day trading is way different than looking at high time frames. But if you're an investor and you're a swing trader, which, you know, I do both, this is how you want to be viewing the market. You know, we know where our supports are. If this is a pivot market, which we've kind of deemed it was based on trajectory, we would be basically be saying, yeah, if you can get back above 32 point, I mean, or even 28,726, you could just say right here. You could literally just line this out and say, if you get back above and hold this as support, you're now holding the prior range for the first time, the all-time high. You've broken out the upside and then held support in the prior range. If that happens, you target this area. It's a very big range, and we talked about this on the move down. We said once it's in this range, it's gonna fill very quickly, which you can see did happen here, and the same can be expected to the upside. Now, you get back above this level and you live up here, you might have some consolidation, but once that move gets underway, this will be a very, very quick move up if, you know, criteria is met. That's only if the criteria is met. You can't trade that today. You can only, if down the road we see this situation, I have a plan for it, you know. So yeah, that would be the deep. This is the deep crab that I was talking about. The other one you're talking about is a much larger pattern, and we've hit all targets but one, you know. So to me, I look at that and I just say, we know when that becomes a conversation to this range, and maybe we start giving up some structural lows here, then sure, yeah, we can start looking at that as the possibility of playing out over time again. But it's not worth talking about when we're looking for potential continuation at this point.
A true beauty, sir. It's like watching Bob Ross.
Kinda. If he had like autism, maybe.
And a floral shirt on.
Yeah, well, Bob Ross would wear this shirt. I don't know, but that's
that is a Bob Ross shirt, 100%. Probably that's probably the logo of it, right?
Yeah. I'll let you or Max take over. Whoever wants to hop in.
Yeah, for sure. I thought Max had a screen up there for a second. Maybe that was his trading screen.
I do. I just need to add it.
There he is. All right.
Voila. Right.
Voila.
Let me just hide these in the immediate. So yeah, today we have the 80-20 is certainly possible. Not been confirmed yet, but yeah, it's certainly possible. We also have, you know, the high percentage hit rate of the pivots, and you may have noticed on the 50-minute time frame, we've got the PVAs right down to here. So yeah, similar to what happened yesterday, and we just pumped. You know, it can happen, but statistically speaking, you know, we should be coming to the downside here, purely on the fact of like the statistics of the pivot hit rate and the close rate of the PVAs. But yeah, we had the same thing yesterday, and yeah, we pumped up. So will it happen again today? Time will tell. But in the immediate, I was looking at, let me just pull this over. I was looking at EXO over this little area that we've got here, this little range. There's not really any telling signs. But if you're looking at individual candles, there's way more longs up here than like clear cut shorts to trap. So before, when we took a when we stated there's a lot of shorts in this region, do we think that they're going to be allowed to, you know, get paid? And then we pumped up. That was pretty much all that we spoke about yesterday's yesterday's stream. Yeah, yesterday's stream for me. We said, there's quite a few shorts here. Are we going to let them get paid? And we put the question out, and Twin said, normally we don't pay retail, and look what happened. We pumped up and wrecked the retail that were short in that area. Do we have the same again short wise? Like, can we see a load of shorts in here? Nope. And the reason being is, well, there's a lot more longs up here. So look here, you've got 3.2 in this candle here. Granted, it's very spread out and there is a lot of selling going on, but there's a lot more longs, in my opinion, that are easier to trap than the shorts. Where do we start to trap them? Well, it's literally just below that previous day value area high. And of course that is support, but as soon as it's lost, let's call this little area range. I'm going to draw a line here. Let's say this is the bottom of the range. As soon as you lose 23,666, odds are certainly in the favor. And again, you can stretch that to previous day value high, draw a little box there if you wanted. As soon as you lose that area, there's quite a few little areas where you've got like pockets of longs that will be trapped. In my opinion, that is the giving sign to go to the downside. Now, where can we get into a trade from here to take us to the downside? If I can find where my trading view has gone. All right, just want to say that it's here. There we go. So where can we get in a trade to take us to the downside? Well, I've got two options here. Arguably three, but I've drawn this bigger box at the top. This counts the monthly high, which is from way back here. So I've just moved it on. And yeah, so I'm counting this high. We could possibly get a swing failure pattern of that high. Also, the current local high, could very easily be swing failed. But I imagine if you're getting up there, odds are you're going to take the both of them out before you were to come down. That's the better short in the immediate. Now, the lesser short that could certainly take place is, I've literally just pulled a Fibonacci retracement from here to here. And I was hoping if we were to get here, we'd have maybe some bearish divergence. The reason I've said that is because we are getting some, it's kind of floating up compared to these highs. It could very easily be put in. If we had a bit of high delta candles come in, we could very easily have bearish divergence with absorption taking place. And then you've got the setup of that. And I think it would just pair very nicely if it came in towards the gold pocket here. But again, you have to wait and see. It's a riskier trade. You're trading it purely off the golden pocket alone, really. So you have to be waiting for another confluence, which would be that the order flow, which is what you have to look at there. The other short, which you could arguably take, is if you were to lose that little box that we have drawn. Let me just draw on here. Yeah, from here to the previous day value high, which is about here. If we were to lose this area, and so the confirmations for a Dalton are 2 30-minute candles, if that's what you want to be using for candle closures, if you're not going to use order flow. If you start to lose this box, yes, you can be taking a short. And I would play it as I wouldn't have a hard stop loss. What you could say is, okay, if we get back up the daily open, I'm going to close out on that trade. But if we were to float above it, if you were to enter down here, you might want to think looking at market structure and order flow as to whether you can either get out of trade a bit earlier. You just have to judge that for yourself, and it depends on your risk management and your trade management as well. But yeah, your first target arguably has to be the pivot. I think you have to take profits there, and then you could lock it in. You could put your stop loss in front of entry, or you could wait for some of these other trades that I've found. So these are the long trades that I'm currently would be watching. Now you've got the previous day equilibrium here, which again can offer a small little bounce. You've also got the previous day VWAP close in pretty much the exact same region. So yes, this can also be an area of support, but ultimately I wouldn't really be, I don't care for it too much. Similar to the pivot, I don't normally trade bounces from pivots. I know you can. I just prefer the hit rate on them. But ultimately the two longs that I would be looking for are this one here, which is the golden pocket as you close these PVAs on a bit of a high volume node from yesterday. Look here, you've got a low volume area. We moved up very quickly through it, can very easily move very quickly through it again. But this is the first area that really you get the high volume. So, and it's on the golden pocket. So I like that little area a lot. And as well, it closes the PVAs. But then again, you'd be front running the previous day point of control, which I think everyone will be calling out for today if we start to get below here. So that'll be a front run of it. So it's a more difficult trade, I think, because you then have to take profits possibly earlier, because ultimately the statistics do state that you're coming down to the previous day point of control. Now, the reason that this box is a bit spread out is not just because the 786 is here, but because on XO, that's where the previous day point of control actually is. So for everyone just trading on TradingView, they're all going to be looking at this point of control, and the actual exact previous day point of control is 0.5% below there at 22,900. So just be aware, if you're going to be presetting limit orders here, that there's the actual exact previous point of control is $100 below there, and that lines up with the 786 pretty nicely. So yeah, that is one thing to be aware of when it comes to taking that trade. But yeah, they're the setups that I've got. Let me just make them all unhidden, and yeah, that's what I'm going to be trading for the day. CVO.
Very good.
That's a tribute. It's a pleasure to have that beautiful voice back. It was surely missed.
Happy to be back, boys.
Did you have your overnight oats this morning?
I'm going to have them in a minute, mate. I'm literally, my mouth's getting wet just thinking of them. That's so good.
Please tell me. Damn, son. Oh, you just made me literally laugh out loud. Only thing better is if I'm just picturing you with the almond milk, just like sloshing in a huge mixing bowl.
Oh, dude, he made that with almond milk. He made this with almond milk. What kind of nut milk? What kind of nut milk did you use?
The almond.
The almond. I love it.
See, for those that don't know, that are watching this and they're not in the members area, in the live trading sessions, we go on from like, I think the shortest done was 2 hours, but we've gone on for like 4 hours before. So that's a lot of time where we just chat a lot of shit. And Magic made a recommendation that I should eat overnight oats. And I swear I had them yesterday, and it's the best breakfast I've ever had. So yeah, making them again today.
Oh man, overnight oats. Sounds enchanting. Okay.
Magic, did you fall off your step ladder there?
Damn.
No, I ran into the kitchen, and instead of going around the desk, I went underneath it because
No, you didn't.
Herca being 5'6".
Oh my god!
Yeah, the desk is like probably 4 feet off the ground right now.
Did you fall off your step ladder? Damn, Max.
I'm sitting on a walking treadmill. If I'm on this walking treadmill, Max, I'm probably like 5'9". Just so you know.
On a good day.
On a very good day with shoes on, Timberlands.
Oh my gosh, I picture like some really high like pumps, some of those like boots with like huge heels.
No, I do have a pair of rollerblades though. If that's about as close as it's gonna get.
If you could rollerblade on the standing desk treadmill one day, I think that would be.
Honestly, I only got them because my daughter, we got her skates for her birthday. Rink that's like 20 minutes away, so we'll go roller skate. And the rentals they have there are just fucking terrible. So just went ahead and bought everybody their own pair.
Sounds like you need practice on your little treadmill, mate.
Maybe sometimes,
Oh man. All I picture you is on that treadmill right now and some skates.
Mm.
That's what's under the
That makes
desk.
it
Whoever
happen.
asked earlier.
Yeah, well, it was A2X. He's in here now.
Yeah. He's the one that corrected me on my shoe verbiage. All right, cool. Looking at some alts, right? We're going to take a look real quick at Ethereum, UniSwap, Quant, and MATIC. And so we haven't done one of our public live streams in a while, which is a shame, but here we are. And I have to imagine the last one we were talking about these areas, because at least 2 to 3 weeks ago was where we were at this region. We just went on Debate Crypto, had a nice show there. If anybody hasn't seen that, be sure to tune into that there. But we'll just kind of cover this as well. So like, as you know, in the trading group, Leading Crypto, right, we've been covering this for quite a while. So we're looking to enter this range back in this region. So this was back in the 10th of June. We were coming back in, and this grayed out region right here is a historic range. So meaning this is a old range from way back in the past, dinosaur time. And we were looking down towards this point of control, which is a main target at about $1,108. And then overall, the range low was $957. Obviously, we wick below. This is our 4-hour time frame. If you zoom it into the daily, you can see pretty clearly we never closed a daily candle below here, wicked it out, stayed within this range pretty well. We might as well just keep it on the daily time frame right now. So on the daily, right, we kind of formulated this structural range similar to Bitcoin, right? Very similar to that same area. Ethereum actually ended up like kind of leading the charge a couple weeks back on the 16th. A couple weeks, right? That's okay, 2 weeks ago, I guess. Pushed it up, ran it to the 2017 all-time high, back tested this at the time, untapped monthly key level, and then ran it basically straight to the high here, right? So we basically been hitting our head on this for quite a bit. Was looking for a possible pullback to this region, back test this range, point of control, golden pocket was all lined up here. Did not get it, right? So essentially we just came back down on a daily basis, closed, held this back test of the 2017 all-time high, and here we are, right? So closing dailies right now, full bodies outside of this range. So, you know, in the short term here, I suppose, unless we come back into this region and start closing back in, so basically 1650, you know, we could come back and back test it and continue on. I really don't see this 1840 not getting hit unless we start living back inside this range, right? So that's kind of the invalidation at the moment would be to come back into 640, start closing back in there, especially we start closing daily candles. For now, we are continuation to the upside in the short term here. And the next level I'd be looking for would be 1844. Pullback region, though, you know, would be, you know, if we do come back into this area, we still do have to look back down towards this region here. That kind of correlates with what Magic was, you know, kind of bringing up earlier, right? Where he was talking about how if Bitcoin does end up re-entering that region and come back down towards, you know, possibly 21 area, whatever, that would be the kind of, you know, the situation at hand that would drag Ethereum down in that region as well. But for now, we are somewhat onward and upward for the moment. So for as far as the range would go, you know, I've been looking at this region just because it's been respecting this area so well, because this did, you know, have an old range to kind of come back into. And with all of the things that were within this area, right, the 2017 all-time high, and things of that nature, like it was just a very big region regardless, and similar to Bitcoin with the 20K area, right? But overall, what we're sitting on in a higher time frame range now for ETH, which is how we look at all the other altcoins as well in the group, is this is a very simple outlook here, right? Really no major levels. I'm just throwing and this is, you know, kind of a higher time frame idea here. So at this point now, you can start entertaining the idea that the range high for this does come in at $2,400. So with that being said, the move here, if you look at this in just a sheer range, right? We had our low right here, right? We've basically slowly crawled up, basically back tested our EQ. And so far we're heading up from there, right? You got your lower highs, higher lows and higher highs across the board, right? So we're in an uptrend so far. And over time, we could very well make our way up to this $2,400 region. And this area would be the very important region. So if this is to go down, Bitcoin is probably pushing up to 28K, 30K, whatever the case is. And at that time, it's pretty important to kind of really realize where we are across the board. This is a pretty cautious area in my opinion. This is where, if we're going to catch that major rejection and possibly rotate this range all the way back down, this would probably be where that comes into play. Meaning that, we could literally give up all the gains or, whatever the case is, if you were buying in this region or if you've just been holding from the high and you end up making back X amount of your portfolio. This is a really, really big window. I think it's like 200% almost, right? So 175% off the low. So that's $2,400. So $2,400 is a really, really, really important area, I think, for the market as a whole when Ethereum pushes up to $2,400. So be paying attention to that for sure. And that kind of is the outline there for ETH, right? So the invalidation point, like I said, is kind of getting back below 1650 in the short term. You might see a pullback if Bitcoin pulls back as well. Not unexpected at this point, but if we start pushing through, you got those single prints. I mean, we got a lot of things that could push Bitcoin high really quickly. And same thing with Ethereum. I mean, the rest of the market, the entire market will erupt, right? If Bitcoin runs it up to 28K. It's just really having that plan in place now. So like, you don't just get caught, end up buying all the highs as we come into them, if we do, right, over the next few weeks. Taking a look at a couple of other coins here that we've been dabbling in, especially, over the last few weeks in the group, publicly, whatever the case. I mean, Quant is one, we've been talking about for quite a while. It's a really, really good example, nice and clear invalidation points across the board with the ranges that were at play. What I've done here is I've basically grayed out the area that we were in, right? This is the range that we were chilling for quite a few weeks. Broke out, and then essentially I've labeled the range above it here. So it's separate here. But what we did here, right, was you came in here, hit your low, ran up to your natural target, got a golden pocket pullback, ran up to the range high, broke out, consolidated above, a perfect little bull pennant, however you want to look at it, right? And then from there, we ran it up, broke into this the range right above it. And then you got your point of control as your natural target, back tested the range right here. We actually pulled back and back tested this overall range, which was nice. And from there, it's getting really crazy here. MATIC is notorious for noting the easiest trade in the world, right? The easiest trade in the world. Obviously, there's no real easy trade in the world, but what you want to see here is, you deviate out of the range there. This is really nicely because you have a really big support coming in right here. You get that bounce. And what you want to do is you want to see that reclaim of the range that you're in, right? So now you're back inside this range here. Got that reclaim. Obviously, if I zoomed it in, this is on the 4 hour, but we got a really clean reclaim right here. And then from there, we're taking it up to the point of control, right? Easiest trade in the world. From here, really looking to claim that. And I think the Quant is on its road to 139. Not the best area to buy in right now because obviously it's not the best R to R in the short term. If you're already holding Quant, if you were in the trading group and you were picking up around these lows, even on this golden pocket back test, obviously you'd want to be, you probably already taking some profits along the way and you're looking to ride this up a little higher. But as far as getting into something like Quant, I wouldn't be chasing this. This is something that's already up 160%. With a 180% rally already, right? So this could very well come in, be a lower high, and just completely roll over. So very, very high risk in that sense. Okay. ETH, Quant, UniSwap. Let's do MATIC real quick, just because that one's been a popular one as well. So MATIC here, right? Really, really clear and clean, just like Quant was, right? So you had this overall range here, ran it up to your point of control, got the pullback, got to that daily level. I believe that was the golden pocket as well. Let's just see. Boom, right there, right? So you had almost the exact same movement here, right? Run it up, major target, golden pocket retrace, right to the range high, breaks out. We're consolidating above right now. And we're trying to see what's going to go on in this region. So, you could very well double top right here. You are putting in some bearish divergence regardless of what's going on around it. So we could very well see a pullback in this region. You already did have a little bit of a lower low come in here. Granted, your higher high is not, it's probably going to come in right around here anyways. So MATIC is not the one I'd be chasing either to get into something. If you are already in MATIC, obviously I'd be looking to see how this plays out and be looking to take it up to this 3-month level at a 112. You got an untapped monthly, which is a real major target for me personally. And then I got a quarter one point of control at 150. So that's what I'd be looking for MATIC to climb to over time. Rejection from here, however, we basically are at the same high over here. So this golden pocket area is what I pulled for it already. You got the point of control for the overall range, golden pocket area, and a daily level all lined up right here in this 60, 62 cent region. If you want to get into MATIC for the long term or whatever, this would be where I'd be looking to pick it up if it did come down to here right now, right? So it is in a bit of a situation where it's a little bit higher risk right now to get in. If you're looking at, run it up, I mean, this would be probably a nice little push, 50, 55%. But, you could also get this 30% pullback as well. So just entering, high risk. If you're already in it, consider what you're in already. Hopefully you got in a lot lower regardless. Look to take it a little higher here. Pay attention to these regions as we come into them. And then otherwise, that's what I'd be looking for out of MATIC. And then UniSwap was a really nice one as well. Went over this one on the 11th in the group. So it's been about 10 days, 2 weeks, I guess, 17 days. So that's the thing too, with a lot of the posts that I put in the group, these aren't leverage plays. I guess you could do leverage obviously, but these are, it took 17 days, but from this launch here, right, you took it up 61%. Not that that's, astronomical for crypto, but that's a really, really great return. And what we were looking for was very technical, right? So I did draw up this inverse head and shoulders. The reason I did that was to overlay the measured move with one of our levels here to see how that would play out. I noted that, the inverse, anybody playing this as an inverse head and shoulders would be looking for that 1056. And I really like this region right here to front run it, because there was an untapped monthly key level, point of control, weekly level, and a golden pocket all stacked in this region. And to me, this made a lot of sense to at least take some profit at and possibly look for some shorts, depending on how things looked like in the overall. So basically just wicked above this, came back down, closed below this weekly, holding in this golden pocket region. So going to see how this plays out. Essentially, if you come back down, you lose this monthly key level, I would imagine we're going to see a decent little pullback. And let's just see what a little local golden pocket takes us down to, about 754, which would be a 22% pullback. So anybody looking to, like I said, take it up to these levels, maybe they get hit, maybe they don't, regardless. If this starts pulling back here, these would have been the regions to really consider. And it's still pretty much there, right? It's still chilling right at the golden pocket area. So it's right at the high. So depending on how it is, once again, not something I would jump into at the moment. If you're not already in it, this is something that is now up 200%. So you don't want to chase these. This is something that's taken weeks to play out at this point. You really would have had to have a plan in place ahead of time. Maybe look for that 20% pullback if you get it. But aside from that, it's, the risk to reward now to take it up, another 12%. Even if you go to the, 3 months, 20, it's just at this point, I would imagine we're going to get a pullback in this region more than likely anyway. So the time has passed to get in on UniSwap in the short term, in my opinion. And that's just based on risk management, right? So, but that was a nice play for sure. ETH Uni Quant MATIC. And about 45 minutes in, we're feeling good. We're looking good. I think that's really all we want to cover. Like, you just kind of want to get back in front of everybody. You know what? I will go over Doge real quick and Shiba. Let's just take a look at Doge and Shiba. Doge and Shiba are two major insight. I don't want to say insightful as far as like intellect, but they excite. Let's just say exciteful. They excite the market. Whether or not, there's a tweet or whatever the case is, blah, blah, blah. But on a technical basis here, Doge has, we're going to take a look at Cardano as well. Doge has, always been that one that just everybody, it's one of those things where UniSwap just pumped 200%. Maybe it's being talked about, maybe it's not. CRV, Curve DAO, right? That's another one we can take a look at. We were looking at for quite a while as well. I think that one just pumped 200%. Nothing, maybe you hear about it, maybe you don't. But if Doge pumped 200%, Shiba pumped 200%, XRP, certain communities obviously incite and excite the market a lot better than others. Reason I bring that idea up here is because Doge is doing one thing that's really interesting, and that's living outside the range. this monthly key level. It's been really struggling to hold it. Just actually reclaimed it again on a 4-hour basis. So we'll see how that goes. But to me, this 8.5, 8.2 cent, basically re-entering this range. Once again, the old magic internet money, easiest trade in the world idea, right? You come back into this range, stop loss right below. You're going to run this up to the point of control, right? So that is a decent move just from that range low. You got an untapped monthly here. You got a daily, which is whatever. You got almost no volume, so it's probably not going to really amount to anything. But just from this range low and up to this point of control, it's going to be a 70% move. And if you're looking at it from today's price, you're looking at a 100% move. You got a golden pocket lined up right here as well. High volume node. I mean, the recipe is there. I would look for the entrance into the range first. And from here, that's a 1.2 cent move, right? So in the short term, it wouldn't look like anything crazy. But if you push up from there, it would definitely be a pretty big move and a pretty big exciter in the market. I bring that up because once we get to that region, if we get to that region, I'd be really paying attention to the rest of the market, because this is where we probably, could see a nice little pullback area, right? Major target.
That's a really important thing that you mentioned, by the way, I'm going to touch on, is that you're waiting for this to actually trigger into the range, because if Bitcoin pulls back here at the top of the range, because it does need to get going, you guys have, like Doge is going to pull back too. It's probably going to pull back even harder. It's something you touch on a lot, that if Bitcoin pulls back 10%, like let's say Bitcoin doesn't moon out of this region, which is a possibility because there are triggers for shorts to the downside, you're at the top of the range. If it doesn't, guys, make sure that you're waiting for these setups to play out. It is one of those things where that's one thing he goes over it, but like I can't emphasize it enough that like when he says that, wait for it to get into the range, you've got a specific trigger at that point. Because if Bitcoin pulls back 10%, altcoins pull back 20%, right? I think that's your general like rules. Like altcoins usually move pretty hard, and that's why they're so much fun to trade. You don't need leverage. These things move like crazy, and timing them is important. So if you're or not, make sure you're keeping track of that. Like, okay, when is this valid and when isn't it? He's giving you all this information. To him, it's like second nature. He's just rattling it off, but like you have to keep in mind those triggers, things like that. Not to interrupt you at all. It's just that was one thing I caught. I was like, you mentioned it, but like the average person is probably just going to only hear we're going up to that point of control in that golden pocket,
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Then they're going to clip it. No, I'm just kidding. No, big time on that. And, we really do try to hit on that as much as possible, obviously, right? Like, there is no guarantees at all. And this is a really good example right here, right? So if you've been looking to, run this up, I mean, we've just been chopping around in this region. And, say if you bought where exactly we are now over here, what is that, 2 weeks ago, 10 days, whatever, you would have 8 or 20% pullback. And depending on what you're doing, if it's in leverage, you would have been stopped out, liquidated, whatever. And even if it's in spot, maybe you got nervous back then, because I'm sure on the 13th, we probably had CPI data come out that day and everybody panic sold or did whatever. So all that correlates into this, because, that would have probably had somebody sell out. Then we ran it back up. I guarantee you people would have bought back in. You sell out again, and it goes back and forth. So it is very important to realize that is the trigger. And it's not just like a wick above, it's you really do want to be able to pull up a trading view account. You can do it for free on your phone, whatever. You can literally mark out these levels, set alerts, and pay attention to how the market is doing right around you. And Bitcoin is a big component of that. So if, coming into this region is a big area, you want to, reclaim that in a sense, close above it, close back in the range. You would have, an area to consider a stop loss below. And then from there, you'd want to go, because even right here, we could, you could buy this in the hopes that we just re-enter and we go from here and you drop down another 20, 30%, still not even make a lower low. You can still just come back all the way to 5.5 cents and still not be doing anything but just ranging to the side. So very big point to have made there. So we do like to emphasize that. Shiba, safety first.
Yeah.
I only bring up Doge and Shiba too, like I said, not in a sense of like just I don't ever really trade these two. I bring them up, I put them out there. I mean, if anybody else wants to, there's money to be made, obviously, but I bring it up more so for like the sentiment idea, right? Like that, if these two start pumping out of not necessarily thin air, there's a technical reason here. If we punch back into this region and we run it up to here, maybe there's a tweet that goes out right here from Elon, so perfectly timed. But at the end of the day, I mean, almost everything that has come out of Doge has been pretty technical. So, and Elon just must have the best analysts in the world texting him to go tweet. All right, SHIB, the SHIB army. All right, so Shiba's in a little bit of a different scenario here, right? So I got this on the Binance chart. So I mean, this is where Shiba's been living for quite a bit, and unlike Doge living outside the range, we are well within the range here, and we're possibly reclaiming this point of control, which is our major hurdle. Let's just say from here, you got an untapped monthly key level, and I can't even pronounce the number of zeros in front of this. So that would be a 25% move. And to me, I would imagine we may run it up to the range high, which would be like 77%. And this is all under the assumption that Bitcoin is not taking a dump and all these things, right? And then you got the rest of the market taking a high. You really got no volume up above us where we are right now. And that range high actually lines up with basically the previous range low. So there's going to be a lot of resistance up here in that region. That'll be about an 80% push. I just, that getting into these areas, if we see that, this would really be where you want to consider, maybe pulling some skin out of the game and looking to buy back in lower if you want to increase your holdings, or depending on whatever you're doing, right? Obviously, the day trading, leverage trading, things of that nature is a totally different beast. And, you're probably just looking to take it up from this point of control to this untapped key level and then call it a day, whatever. Where we are right now, clear invalidation once again. You could chop around in this region, however, just as we've been, or a very good example of this is right here. Where you drop down below. If anybody's stop loss right below here, obviously they got stopped out, but they also did not run the risk of eating this, 10% drop. Yeah, they bought back in a little higher or whatever, but here, if you were looking to get in, granted, this is not where, this is diddling in the middle, so to speak, but if you're looking for like a spot idea, even this could be an area where you could consider and then look to run it up to these higher levels. Stop losses aren't as simple in the spot trades, but you could kind of keep an eye on it and decide if you want to cut losses or anything like that. But Shiba, I bring this up again just because if Shiba starts pumping, we were talking about this on Debate Crypto earlier, where everybody has the idea, even right now, that like even if we run up to, or when we were at 19K, when we run up to $30,000 Bitcoin, it's going to come back down to 11 or 10 or whatever. And that's the idea, and it's very accepted when we're sitting at 19K, 18K. $1,100 Ethereum, everything's at the lows. It's very accepted to kind of say those numbers. But as we start climbing, that changes very quickly. And if we really do push it up, and if we push it up fast, it's gonna be one of those scenarios where people are gonna very quickly be like, that's it, that was the bottom, we're going up. And maybe it was, but it's just a time where you really want to be paying attention, because even if it is the bottom, we run it up to these regions, big pullbacks are still possible. And even if we run it up to something like this, range high, for example, and you get a pullback all the way back down to the point of control, which is still pretty bullish, right? You would get that run off the bottom, you get your point of control, you finally break above it, you reclaim it, run it to the high, come back test and run. That's a big opportunity right there, 50% loss, right? Or 50% drop, I mean. So that's the idea I bring up between things like Shiba and Doge in the market. Reason I talk about them, whatever. And granted, like I said, I mean, there is opportunity ahead of us there. So for anybody that's big on Robinhood and you only have a few things you can trade, I guess there you go. Cardano. We had the king of Cardano on Debate Crypto today, TA Tim, and neither one of us talked about Cardano, which I thought was interesting. But Cardano's at a good spot, I think. And by that, I mean, yeah, we could pull back to this point. We could pull back another, I guess that's almost 10% at this point. But as long as we're living above this point of control, so that is sitting at 47 cents. So when we came down to this region, this like Cardano was like the one we got right on the money, right as we came down to this region, right as Bitcoin was falling to 18,900. Cardano was the moneymaker, right? We came right down to the range low. It was like the number one post I put in the group that was like, look, Cardano's hitting the low, yada, yada, yada. What I mean by that is at the time, right? Very simple idea. You could stop loss right below this low. You run the lowest risk, obviously, of a major loss in that region because obviously you're coming in at major support, but you also have to be able to put on risk in these times when everybody and everything around you is telling you to sell. And the market is going, I think this was a CPI day, right? Or I don't know what it was. Regardless, Bitcoin dropped to like 18K and change, whatever. So everybody's fearful. Everything was dropping. This was a target we were looking for, right? We front ran it right here. Obviously, we didn't make it all the way down here. And when we lost the point of control, once again, right here, we were looking for it one last time. We finally got it. So off that low, right, we were looking for point of control. We had a monthly key level and this daily level. Daily level we ran right up to, come back down, took that golden pocket, and so far reclaimed the point of control pretty convincingly. And we are currently trying to get above this monthly key level. To me, the monthly key level is pretty important. If we do flip that on a closing basis, 4-hour time frame, this and that, I would imagine that we're going to take it up to this daily at 60 cents, golden pocket region. And then from there, you got a monthly key level above you and our range high. Thing about Cardano, once again, going on the idea that the entire market is, not completely melting. Bitcoin's not just dropping from here. You flip this 72-cent switch right here. This was our major, similar to when Ethereum fell back into that old range. We had a couple triggers. Well, the 72-cent region for Cardano was our trigger that we were going way lower, right? So we flipped this 72-cent area, and won't, maybe it's not overnight, whatever, but from there I'd be looking back up to $1. So for Cardano, I mean, that's a pretty big move. That's 100% from where we are now. Wouldn't expect it overnight. Definitely going to happen over time. And even from where we are now, though, I mean, you're still looking at, Cardano's not up substantially compared to everything else, but 26%, right? Nice and consistent. And if you run it up to that range high, you're talking about 70% move. And then obviously from there, we'd be looking up towards that dollar region. So Cardano, I think, is in a good spot. Is it something that's, going to give you a 200% move? Maybe not. Probably not, actually. But for anybody that's holding Cardano, right, like these are the levels I'd be looking for. A nice clear loss of that 47 cents. Obviously, we'd be looking back down towards range low once again. But for here, I'd be looking up. So Cardano, I think, is one, and it's one that really hasn't popped, right? We always look for the ones that haven't popped, so to speak. And this, like I said, off the low, you got Ethereum has ran already 90% or whatever it was. Maybe it's 100 by this point. Bitcoin's even ran 30, 40%, whatever it is. All the other, you got MATIC, you got Quant, all these coins running so hard. Cardano really hasn't popped yet. So to even just get to this range high, I think is very, very possible. And that would be a nice move from where we are now. And then from there, really, I wouldn't see a reason why to stop unless the market's really going to take a hit from there. But we'll see and continue on. But that invalidation of 47 cents is pretty crucial. I think that's about all I got. You guys got anything before we wrap it up here? OC Pet Doctor, I'll say it. I expect HBAR to get wrecked with Bitcoin. I mean, if Bitcoin pulls back, everything will get wrecked. Actually, as we're saying, let's take a look at the dominance real quick, because we could also get a Bitcoin pullback.
That's not exclusive to HBAR at all. I know we shit on HBAR. I just do it for fun, mainly because it's a centralized project like XRP. Why wouldn't I? And I think it's got a community that is so overly involved. It reminds me of something like XRP. When you have a community like that are so dead certain that something is going to be the next big thing and that it's going to moon and blah, 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 you have to look at that with inherent skepticism and go, man, is it really going to be something where this many people get rich? Same thing happened with Quant when I said Quant's top was in back at like fucking $400. I got like death threats in the fucking comment section, dude. Like, I'm dead serious. People were like, this guy, someone sent a bomb to this guy's house type thing. And I was only saying it was going to like 175 at the time, and then later on I was like, I wasn't bearish enough. I think it can go as low as, I think it gave $69. And I said, if it goes any lower than that, it'd be $40.40, which we got. But yeah, when I see stuff like HBAR and XRP, Quant, and like, it depends on how vocal the community is. And if they're really, really vocal still, like XRP is super vocal. So it kind of, sometimes I'm just like, man, is the low really in? Cause like these dudes really, they haven't accepted that punishment yet. We don't have people of their positions, things like that. It's tough. The chart says, buy, because you're at a big target, but the sentiment, which I generally try to kick the trend of sentiment traders, but the sentiment says it doesn't make sense to reward this many people, this much of retail. And it seems like a very retail driven asset. That's all I really say about it. So do I hate HBAR? No, I just like picking on you a little bit because you've been in the group a long time and you talk about HBAR pretty much every day when you're in there. You do talk, it's always about HBAR. So that's why I pick on you a little bit about it. If Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down. It's not just HBAR, man. It's not exclusive to HBAR. It's not like we actually hate the project. It just, when I see the community, I look at it, I'm like, man, it just doesn't make sense for that many people to be rewarded. So we'll see, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we all know what happened to the Shiba community. They all got rich.
Honestly, dude, I had a buddy who had.
He really did, actually. You got into good enough.
Yeah, no. He didn't get rich. This is the same guy that lost like 200K almost in the KuCoin hack, and he ended up getting most of it back. He put $1,000 in the SHIB almost at the exact low, and we played softball together. And he was like, "Dude, you gotta buy Shiba." I was like, "I'm not fucking touching Shiba, dude." He bought when it first started bottoming though. And it was a really long bottoming process. It took a very long time, if you recall, from like, early spring all the way till the end of summer. Like we're talking like 4 or 5 months. So he sold. And had he not sold, dude, I mean, this guy would have like millions of dollars. Like he would have turned $1,000 into like fucking 10 million bucks or some shit. And I was just like, you sold? I was like, why? He's like, he got bored. The market literally lulled him out of the position. He was like, I thought it was a dead coin. And we talked a little bit about this in the last live stream where that's when people like Cardano, for instance, how long was Cardano below 3 cents, right? We talked about this. It was forever, dude. I remember those days where I was like, Cardano is never going to moon. That thing has been down there forever. And then when it did, it went to like $3, it just crushed it 100x.
100x, man.
SHIB was the same way for him, except he sold the bag early, like right before it mooned. I felt really bad for him. But it is what it is, man. That's part of trading. $1,000 worth of Shiba at the lows like that, like to me in my mind, I'm like, you had to go in that with
roll that shit.
You had to, well, it was $1,000. It's like you had to go into that like this is going to be a $0 trade or I'm going to be a millionaire. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the only outcome of this trade.
You just let that run, man.
Yeah, everyone gets rewarded eventually, but it's a tough road when you're looking for that home run. I guess if you're a home run trader, it is really, really hard. It's not like those just come around. Like timing is everything. A lot of people that got rich in those were like they just bought in on the hype at the close to the run up, and they got rich. But all the people that put in the hard work and bought at the bottom and tried to hold and like were the people that were building bags. Some of the run even happens. It's crazy to watch. The same shit happens with Bitcoin. I remember trading Bitcoin from the 3K lows to 14K to 3K and watching people literally over the course of even just a year get completely shaken out of the market thinking it was going to go back down to like $1,000. And they were convinced that even after it bounced, it got all the way back to like 9K. And I was like, if this breaks to the upside, like targets immediately are 11 to 12,000. We hit 12,400. But if it breaks to the downside, yeah, I'm back to like 5K. You gotta be willing to trade what's going on though. You can't just exit the market as a whole and then just be like, well, I don't know what's going on involved. It's like, bro, you just told me you believe in the project, you believe in Bitcoin. Just put the money in there and forget about it. Then don't trade anymore. Like that's where you guys have to kind of like start to delineate. If you're not going to put in the work and actually like learn to trade, just be that guy that blindly puts money in the market and hopes for the best. We'll see how that pans out. Maybe you get a Shiba, maybe you don't. But Bitcoin has done it too. Ethereum was a big one. Dude, fucking ETH. When it hit like $82, everyone was convinced ETH was done. I think my average was 136 for the last bull market. And that was a good average. And it was just one of those things where I remember thinking it's going to go to at least $700. I was like, the high end, I think my target was 47.21, and anything above that, I was like, it could go to $8,400 over time. It's just going to take a long time. But ETH shook out so many. Posting a video when ETH had ran all the way back to 250, it's tripled off the bottom. And I was like, it's gonna triple from here. And people were like, nope, it's going back to $80. It's because they didn't have any skin in the game. And I'll guarantee those dudes are the guys that bought $4,000 or 2K, and then it pulled back to 1,500 and shook them all out. This, how it goes. Like we see those people often, unfortunately. So my advice would be put a little bit more investment into yourselves. Learn how to trade, learn how to identify important levels, and then have conviction. That's it. Just have a little bit of if you think that that's the trade, like HBAR is the way, dude, stick to it. He obviously has conviction. He's going for it. So like either I'm going to be right or he's going to be right, one of the two. And so maybe he ends up a multi-millionaire and he's laughing at me one day because he made a bunch of money on HBAR and I'm over here like dogging on it in the chat every day, memes and shit.
Do you see the message on the screen?
Yeah, I do see that. No, I mean, it's not that I'm happy to hear that at all, but I will say this: in the market that we're in currently, where Bitcoin dominance has been rising, I guess overall up until like this recent peak, anyway, from what that chart shows. You were better off trading Bitcoin anyway because Bitcoin was heavily running the market at that point. As it pulls back, though, like you'll probably be scaling into some alts, I would imagine. Looking for opportunities there. If the alt BTC pairings are going to look favorable, why wouldn't you look for a little bit more upside and trade the asset with the bigger range? That's something that Paul focuses on quite a bit. So yeah, not to interrupt you, I know you still got a couple coins to probably go, or
I'm
Bitcoin dominance to cover.
Yep. I was just bringing up down because I was just taking a look at that, seeing if because we were talking about if Bitcoin took a hit, maybe the altcoins would fall. But I was looking at dominance to see just how it looked, anyways. But look, once again, this is something I really haven't back tested at all. Have you ever used this magic for dominance? Pulling up volume profile on it.
If I ever actually looked at Bitcoin dominance, I would. When I trade, generally don't actually trade it. I just look at it because people ask me to. And that's just me being quiet on a live stream.
I just wonder where the volume even would. You can't trade Bitcoin dominance. So I don't understand where the volume comes in at all. But whatever, there's volume profile there, so I pulled it up. Some oddly categorized point of control comes in right here. But regardless, this yearly level right here that we've been eyeballing for a while, right? We were holding this region, lost it, pushed up. Got this monthly region right here, kind of swung that, came back down. And we actually just, formally lost this annual level once again. Whatever this volume is pulling from, there's a point of control here that we have lost that as well. So from here, even pushing back up to this annual level, now we got the quarterly VWAP. It's a little red line. I don't know if you can see it, but quarterly VWAP comes in right there. So now you got some double resistance right above us. We've kind of been running into the quarterly VWAP on these three little drives here. So to me, we're actually in the bearish, neutral-ish, but I mean, we can definitely head lower here on the RSI. There's no divergence. To see a move to the downside in dominance, I think is possible, right? It's pretty much likely at this point. And that's going to be good for the altcoins, right? So when we're looking at all these alt charts and you got all this upside potential, whether or not Bitcoin actually drops in price action, or the best action here would be Bitcoin actually running and the dominance dropping, and the altcoins would actually be getting a nice little move there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But at the moment, looking like we could get a little rejection here in dominance, a little pullback. And, as this comes down, altcoins outperform. And then obviously as this runs higher, the Bitcoin outperforms. But so that's pretty much all I got. I really want to cover those couple of coins. We pretty much covered those on Debate Crypto as well. We're just kind of going over a little different aspect here. Obviously, we've got our full analysis in the Leading Crypto Discord. If anybody's interested in joining that, the information is down below in our information panel. Majority of people in the chat right now are actually in the group. And aside from that, I think that's about all we got. We try to do these live streams every Thursday night. We do it a little later because of our order flow and open interest specialist. He's over in Dubai, so he clocks in at 5:30 a.m. his time, pours himself a nice bowl of I think it was, what was it called? Hearty oats and some almond milk.
Overnight oats.
What is it?
Overnight oats.
Overnight oats and some almond milk.
Nah, dude.
And
He just drinks that milk, bro. He just eats it.
Don't say it like that. It just you can't be saying that, Magic. He just drinks nut milk.
He walks around with a permanent mustache and that milk.
all right. Gosh. All right. We got to come up with a nice exit like Debate Crypto has. And I really think it should be Magic just like exiting stage under his desk. But we'll work on
I don't know
it for
about
sure.
that.
All right. You guys got anything to add? I'm all set. So I think that's pretty good. We're at an hour and 10 minutes. So kind of on our timeline here. And I think we covered everything.
We're forming that bearish divergence. Keep an eye on it. It's forming as we speak. It's actually there on specific charts. It's there on nearly them all. So yeah, look at the highs. If you've got CVD on there, there's absorption taking place, and it's of the bearish side. So watch out.
Oh yeah,
keep an eye on
it's
it.
getting up there.
Wherever this little rise we've got takes us, this could be our entry for the short to the downside. So yeah, but it's leading until it's not. So be aware.
Give me my Dalton.
Yeah, she's just got to pop. That 24K level is pretty important.
Yeah.
Give me my Dalton.
Yeah, I know you.
All right, boys. Always, I'm literally like 50x short of my whole account right now, so I hope we get the Dalton. Just kidding. And Magic, when he said his advice earlier, that was obviously not financial advice, everybody. So wishing you all a great night, afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Hope you enjoy yourself a nice bowl of overnight oats and some nut milk from Dubai. And till next time, everybody, we'll be on the treadmills under the table. Cheers.